Thank you, Acting Speaker. I rise to contribute to the debate on the Labour Hire Legislation Amendment Licensing Bill of 2025 that goes to the heart of fairness, integrity and safety in Victoria's construction and building sectors. This is a bill that's about restoring confidence in an industry that builds our schools, our transport, our hospitals and our homes. It's about saying clearly and unequivocally that corruption, criminality and intimidation have no place on Victorian construction sites and no place in a sector that employs thousands of hard-working Victorians, including many from my community of Pascoe Vale, Coburg and Brunswick West, who I'll touch on soon. And it's about supporting the many honest labour hire providers, contractors and workers, good people doing the right thing every day who deserve a system that protects them, not one that is exploited by those who seek to do wrong. And Acting Speaker, last year the Victorian Labor Government of course commissioned the Wilson Review, a comprehensive and independent investigation led by the highly respected servant Greg Wilson. The review examined how Victoria government bodies interact with construction companies and construction unions in the wake of harrowing and deeply troubling allegations of criminal and unlawful conduct at Victorian government worksites. The findings of the Wilson Review were sobering. They highlighted a rotten culture of coercion, intimidation and lawlessness in parts of the construction supply chain, and they identified labour hire as one of the most problematic areas. Workers were being exposed to threats, businesses were structuring themselves to evade regulation, some operators were hiding in the shadows of a complex supply chain designed to frustrate oversight. And yet, despite these challenges, the review also told us something incredibly important, that Victoria does have the tools to fix this if we strengthen the laws, enforce the rules and give regulators the power they need to act. And this bill does exactly that. Acting Speaker, this bill delivers on recommendation 3, 4, 5 and 6 of the Wilson Review, and it builds a strong track record of this government in cleaning up the construction sector. Number 1, strengthening the fit and proper person test, which is recommendation 3 of the report. And currently the test is too narrow and too prescriptive. The Wilson Review found that it failed to capture individuals with serious red flags, including criminal history, systemic coercive behaviour and a pattern of evasion. The bill broadens the test substantially. It aligns Victoria's framework with the best elements of the Queensland model and ensures the Labour Hire Authority can consider a person's honesty, integrity and professionalism, the presence of indictable offences in certain circumstances, and critically, whether a person is under the influence or control of another who is not a fit and proper person. The wider net ensures the Labour Hire Authority can weed out bad actors before they are able to exploit vulnerable workers. This is a preventative regulation, not reactive clean-up, and that is exactly what the sector needs. Number 2, clarifying which construction activities are covered. That's recommendation 4 of the Wilson Review, because we know some operators have deliberately structured themselves to avoid regulation. They've found loopholes in definitions. They've split work across entities. They've hidden behind intermediaries to dodge scrutiny. The Wilson Review identified this behaviour as a serious threat to transparency and accountability. This bill fixes that. It tightens the definition of providing labour hire services, ensuring it captures arrangements where the real character of the agreement is the supply of labour and that labour is performed by workers of the provider or another provider. It focuses on the substance of the arrangement, not the window dressing. This is a major step forward in stopping the avoidance tactics that have undermined the integrity of the entire regulatory system. Number 3, we're strengthening the powers to obtain documents, which goes to recommendation 5. Under the current model, inspectors often need to conduct a physical entry before they can request documents, an outdated approach that does not reflect the complexity of modern labour hire operations, and this bill modernises those powers. It allows the authority to request documents, including electronically, without first needing to enter a premises. It allows requests from third parties connected to the business, and it establishes a formal notice to produce mechanism. This matters because investigations often hinge on records that can vanish on short notice when unscrupulous operators catch wind of enforcement. This reform gives the authority the tools it needs to enforce the law properly. Number 4, we're expanding publication powers, which goes to recommendation 6. Transparency, of course, is one of the best disinfectants. This bill expands the Labour Hire Authority's ability to publish contextual information about licence cancellation, licence suspension, investigations and enforcement actions. This is about ensuring the public and the industry know who is doing the wrong thing and what the consequences are. It shines a light on the behaviour the Wilson Review found was often deliberately hidden from the public eye. For reputable labour hire firms, this transparency is a welcome protection. For those who engage in shady conduct, it is a warning. And of course, Acting Speaker, this bill also includes several other complementary reforms to lift overall integrity across the building and construction sector, including expanding the list of laws that licence holders must comply with, requiring providers to demonstrate the financial viability of their business, strengthening the offence of hindering or obstructing labour hire authority staff, and allowing the Labour Hire Commissioner to disclose information to other government agencies where it is in the public interest. These improvements help ensure the system functions cohesively and responds to emerging risks. And Acting Speaker, no reform effort, no matter how strong, will succeed unless the people on the ground feel safe enough to report the wrongdoing. And the Wilson report made it clear that intimidation, threats and retaliation were being used to silence those who tried to raise concerns. This bill responds by creating a new offence in the Workforce Inspectorate Victoria Act, causing detriment or threatening to cause detriment to a person for making a complaint or providing information. And the penalties are deliberately severe, up to 1,200 penalty units, up to 10 years imprisonment or both. Acting Speaker, this is how seriously this government takes intimidation and threats on construction sites. No worker, no subcontractor, no clerk, no apprentice should ever be afraid to speak up about wrongdoing. This offence makes it clear that if you threaten someone to keep quiet, you will face serious consequences. Acting Speaker, we're also looking at delivering on the Wilson Review's every single recommendation. Earlier this year, we passed amendments to establish the Workforce Inspectorate's complaints referral function, including Recommendation 1. The policy work is underway to implement Recommendation 7, and the final recommendation provides for an evaluation of the reforms 2 years after implementation. By passing this bill, Victoria will have acquitted all legislative reforms arising from the Wilson Review, ensuring we have a modern, robust and accountable labour hire system. And in my electorate, Acting Speaker, Pascoe Vale is home to many hard-working families, tradies, apprentices, engineers, labourers and subcontractors. Many come from culturally, linguistically and migrant communities, bringing skills, determination and pride in their work. According to the 2021 ABS census, my community of Marybeck is home to many workers associated with the building construction industry. 6,500 people directly employed in the construction sector, that's 7% of local workers. 4,500 through the manufacturing sector, that's almost 5% of local workers. 3,900 transport sector workers, almost 4.2% of local workers. In terms of jobs associated with the construction industry, 9,700 are employed as technical or trade workers, that's 10.5% of local workers. 5,800 are labourers, 6.2%, a big margin in my community, and 3,400 are machinery operators, 3.7%. In terms of businesses with construction industry, 2,500 are businesses directly engaged in the construction industry, 15.5%. It's the biggest cohort of businesses in my community are from the construction industry. 2,200 are in transport, that's 13.5% of local businesses, and 490 are in manufacturing, just around 3%. And every one of these construction and building associated workers and businesses deserve a construction sector that's free from criminal infiltration, coercive behaviour and unsafe practices. They deserve an industry where jobs are allocated fairly, where safety is paramount and where wages and entitlements are respected. The people in my community expect government to act firmly against wrongdoing, especially when public money is involved. They expect transparency, they expect accountability, and they expect that if someone is doing the wrong thing, the law will deal with them, and this bill delivers on those expectations. And Acting Speaker, is one of the fastest growing states in Australia. Victoria depends on a strong, robust and ethical construction industry. We are building more infrastructure than any other state in the time of our history. Major roads, new hospitals, rail upgrades, new schools, thousands of new homes. The construction boom must be built on integrity and not on intimidation. And unlike some of those opposite, who like to talk tough on crime while voting down reforms that actually tackle it, Labor's approach is very clear. We identify the problem, we investigate it, we consult widely, and then we legislate decisively. And that's what this bill does exactly. And the opposition have no credibility, Acting Speaker, when it comes to talking about integrity and governance. This is a Liberal Party that's an internal war with itself. It's a Liberal Party taking itself to the Federal Court. It's a Liberal Party that's taken themselves now to the Supreme Court. It's a Liberal Party that's tearing itself apart in Canberra. And they have no credibility in this space at all. And if they can't govern themselves, how can they govern the rest of Victoria? Acting Speaker, Labour Hire legislation, Amendment Bill 25, strengthens the integrity of labour hire sector, enhances transparency, targets criminal conduct and protects workers and whistleblowers. It gives regulators the powers they need. It holds back bad actors. It restores confidence for workers and employers doing the right thing. and it helps ensure that every dollar of public infrastructure spending is delivered by an industry held to its highest standards of conduct. More importantly, it helps protect the safety, dignity and rights of hundreds of thousands of people who work across Victoria's construction sector. This is practical reform, strong reform and necessary reform, and I commend the bill to the House.